Today I want to start looking at how does one make a radar chart in Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to go to my chart tools, which are down here. Here's the radar graph tool. I'm going to click there. Clicking off that, I'm going to drag a square out here. And you can see now that what I have is circular. It has a range of values for this axis. And as I plot the points, what it's going to do is it's going to build around that circular plot with everything radiating out of the center point. That's the plan. So I have a set of data here that I want to work with. This is some Google Ads data that I'm working with at work, and we have a particular video that's running on YouTube right now, and we wanted to take a look at some of the data associated. It's been running for about 3 weeks. Alright, so I organized it so I could work with both the Excel file and Adobe Illustrator on the same page. So what I want to do is I want to take some of this data and build a radar chart. Now if I look at my data over here, you can see that the impressions numbers are very high, so that won't work with the rest of the data. But certainly views, conversions, and clicks can all be compared in this chart. So let's take a look and see what I'm going to do here. Let's bring this up where we can see it more, and I'm going to drag it out so that I have some more room to look. What I want to do is I want to bring in some of this data. I could import all of it, but there's going to be a row or two in here that I'm not going to use. I'm going to just do it manually, one row at a time. So I'm going to select date here, Shift and select, Command C to copy, and then coming back into here, I'm going to go Command V, and I'm going to put all my dates in. I'm going to do that with the other columns that I want to put in here. Okay, so you can see I have all the columns in that I want to work with. All I have to do next is click on the check mark to apply it, and you can see it is building a radar chart with those numbers. Alright, so you can see now that I've removed the column, what I want to do is I want to click the check mark, and now when I click off of here, I should have a better view of some of the different things I'm comparing. A couple of things. If I wanted to make some of these inner lines a little more clear, certainly I want to change the color values that are being used. Additionally, had I made a bigger radar chart, it would have shown a little bit better, right? But let's work with what we have for now, because we're just learning the basics on how to do it. So I think I'm done with the data here. Don't really need it anymore, so I'm going to close that. I can always bring it back by going Object Graph, and then you can see I pull the data out of there. We'll take a look at how to make this pop out a little better. One of the things that I may not need to change, but right now I'm going to change a little bit, because this way I'll be able to see what's going on over in this section a little better, is I want to change the artboard size. So if I hit Shift and O, it opens up my artboard tool, and I can resize my artboard. So I'm just going to bring the artboard out a little bit wider, so now we can see better what's going on in there. Now all of this stuff here is all connected. If I want to start making some adjustments to the graph, what I need to do is I need to ungroup. So if you go to Object and Ungroup, watch what happens. I hit Ungroup, and it's going to tell me this contains a graph. If you ungroup it, it's no longer going to be a graph. It's going to look the same, but you can't go back in and change the numbers. So make sure your numbers before you do this step are where you want them to be. So I'm going to click Yes here. Now notice everything is still grouped. If I click on this number, for example, a lot of things are being selected. Right now it looks like it's just the dates. The dates are too big, they're taking up too much space, probably not enough font that I want to use. So if I look up here, I've got character, it's Myriad Pro. For these videos I've been using Avenir. I wanted something lighter, and I could look at the possibilities. When I click there, now it shows up here as light, and now I want to change the size. 21 points is more than enough. So what we have there is we have now something that's a lot more readable, but it's also not going to jump out at me. Now let's start working with our lines here. When I click on the line, notice that they are grouped, but all of them are grouped. I don't want to change them all to the same color, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ungroup. I have it on my bar here, so I can go ungroup object. If I click off, click back on the same path, now you can see that this one corresponds to views, and they're the same color. They have a stroke, but they have no fill, and the stroke is a 2-point stroke, and I just want to give it a color. I'm going to go red for views so that it pops out. Let's go with this little deeper, darker red here. I'm going to click off that. Now I'm going to come to the next one, If I could click conversions, that's one of my lighter colors. Down there, I kind of want these two to stand out from each other a little more. So I'm going to pick contrasting colors and something pretty bright. Let's go with an orange color. And for the clicks, I'm going to try cyan, because although cyan is sort of a blue-green color, it still will work as a complement, and it's a little bit brighter and easier to see, I think. So now clicking off of that, we can see, if I zoom in, now you can see when I'm clicked off here, my cyan and orange lines are kind of standing out a little better from each other. Part of the reason that it's a little hard to read though still is because of the grid. So what I would like to do is I'm going to zoom back out, Command 0. I would like to soften the color of the grid. Right now it's 1 point and it's black. I'm going to choose something that's still visible, but may not stand out quite as much as the black. So what I chose there, just sort of middle of the range gray. Now the spokes are separate, so I'm going to either need to select all of them or group them all together to get the spokes where we want them to be as well. So I grouped all of the spokes, the outer circle, and the tick marks, and also the axis label. You can see that over here, it stops at 100. And you can see that now it's a little easier to see the various lines in here. Still a little difficult to see these because they're kind of close together. So I'm going to mess with the colors a little bit. Additionally, notice the anchor points are very prominent, and I may be able to do something with those colors as well to be able to help reinforce and make it more visible. One thing I do want to point out at this point is that these axis numbers don't match the rest of the text. So I have a group selection tool here. What I want to do is I want to select these numbers separately. So I'm going to hold down Shift and select each one of these. And now that I have those all selected, I can come in and I can change to match the fonts of what we were working on. Since the rest of the text is in black, see what that looks like in black. They'll stand out a little bit more. Black is a little too dark. I'm going to push this one to somewhere in these grays that are a little darker, but not take away or distract. So it's readable, but it's not going to distract from what we're looking at. Maybe at 18 points. Will give me the value of each of the tick marks and circles without being overwhelming or standing out more than the chart itself. Okay, so what I decided to do was to make these stand out more. Instead of being the orange and the cyan, I did those in blue and red. They separate a little better from each other that way. The colors are more obvious. And I turned hues to green. And you can see things are standing out better. I also softened the color of the polar grid so that it would be much less prominent, still there to help read. You can see now these are standing out from each other a lot better. Additionally, I decided to delete the anchor points, the little boxes on the little corners, because that was hiding a lot. So those are some of the things you might want to consider doing. You want it to be readable, but you want your lines to be the things that stand out the most. I could, for example, click on here and instead of making it 2 points, make it 3 points. So that's moved up to 3 points now. That's a little easier to read. And now you can see that these are really starting to show better. That's basically how you make a radar graph. Okay, I played with it for a little while longer. I wanted to make sure everything stood out nicely. One of the things I did was change the size and boldness of the key, and I moved the words inside the boxes because I had these big empty boxes with nothing in them, which wasn't very appealing, and matched the color to the color of the line. So that key is going to help a little bit better. And also, everything is jumping better because I went from that white background to RGB yellow. And I moved the opacity down to a point where I thought it would look nice. I can try lighter, go darker. You see how those colors start to pop as I have some of that yellow in the background? 55% is pretty good here. I'm going to leave it there for now. Maybe add a title to the chart, and then I'm going to close it up and be done with this one.